It may surprise you to hear that eating the wrong kinds of vegetables on a daily basis can seriously impair your immune system, hasten the aging of your brain, and even impair your mobility, particularly your legs' strength and stability. Numerous research involving tens of thousands of older persons conducted over many years and published in the Journal of Gerontology support this caution. Many popular veggies may appear innocuous at first appearance, but some can induce silent inflammation, hurt your legs' tiny blood vessels, make walking more difficult, and significantly raise your risk of falls, which are the #1 cause of fatal injuries among adults over 65. Don't worry though, this article will provide you with a clear and comprehensive advice that will tell you which 3 veggies you should eat daily to keep your intellect bright, your mobility strong, and your health safe, as well as which 3 vegetables you should avoid at all times. Pay close attention until the very end, because I'm about to tell you a startling truth about a vegetable that seems nutritious but can be subtly killing your legs without you ever noticing. In order to ensure that you never miss another personalized health tip, I advise you to ring the bell and subscribe if you haven't already. Type 1 in the comments if you like this video. If not, input 0 to tell me how I can improve your material. Section 1. 3 vegetables seniors over 65 must consume every day. 1. Broccoli, the natural armor against aging. Among the myriad veggies that appear on our dinner plates and in our markets, broccoli is a silent but potent ally on the path to aging well. It is more than just a vegetable to elders over 65. It is a kind of living armor, intricately crafted by nature to safeguard the body's most important systems during a period when resilience starts to decline. Broccoli, which is high in the powerful phytochemical sulforaphane, protects against chronic inflammation, which is one of the silent causes of aging. In addition to causing pain, chronic inflammation slowly weakens muscles, joints, blood vessels, and even cognitive function, all essential components for preserving one's independence and standard of living. Sulforaphane makes every bite a calculated investment in lifespan by activating important pathways that cleanse the body of toxic substances and boost its defenses. In addition to reducing inflammation, broccoli is a great source of vitamin K, calcium, and a variety of antioxidants, nutrients that are vital for maintaining cardiovascular health and bone density in older adults. Bones weaken after age 65, and even little fractures can cause long-term problems with mobility. The special nutritional makeup of broccoli protects the arteries against the calcification that frequently comes with aging, while also strengthening the skeleton. It seems like the exact blueprint for maintaining vitality is contained within each delicate green floret. The health benefits of broccoli for our literal foundation, the legs and feet, may be the strongest argument. Sulforaphane has been shown in studies to enhance peripheral circulation, which keeps the legs and feet fed and responsive. Stronger, more steady steps, less balance problems, and a lower risk of diabetic complications are all results of healthy circulation. Eating broccoli is in a very genuine way like making the daily decision to move forward a little bit more confidently and powerfully. However, the preparation technique is crucial. Broccoli's potent sulforaphane concentration is preserved, and its digestion is improved by lightly boiling it for a few minutes. The amazing qualities of this vegetable are largely eliminated when it is boiled to oblivion. You are essentially consuming life itself when you let your broccoli to be colorful, slightly firm, and full of life. For many older adults, the simplest ingredients can become life-changing when you understand what they truly do for the body. Think about that for a moment. A spoonful of sautéed spinach or a single sweet carrot isn't just fuel. It's a quiet act of self-preservation, a tiny, consistent promise that says, I'm still here and I still matter. Carrots, in particular, are one of those gifts from nature that are often taken for granted. They're not flashy like exotic superfoods or trendy like kale, but that may be exactly why they're so powerful. In fact, what carrots lack in trendiness, they more than make up for in practicality. You see, within every crisp, orange root lies a chemical called beta-carotene, a natural compound that the body converts into vitamin A crucial nutrient that plays a starring role in maintaining vision, balance, and even coordination. Vision, as it turns out, is not just about being able to see clearly. For seniors, it's intimately tied to mobility. When eyesight starts to fade, so does depth perception, which makes something as simple as stepping off a curb or judging a stair's height a risky activity. That's part of why falls are so common and so dangerous in older adults. According to the CDC, more than 1 in 4 people aged 65 or older falls each year, and falling once doubles your chances of falling again. These aren't just minor accidents either. Falls are the leading cause of injury-related deaths among older adults. This is where carrots step in. Rich in beta-carotene, they feed the eyes the fuel they need to stay strong. But the benefits go beyond vision. Studies have shown that vitamin A supports the inner ear's function, which is essential for maintaining balance. You know that sense that keeps you upright when you turn your head or shift your weight. That's your vestibular system. It relies on input from the inner ear, the eyes, and the body's proprioceptors. If any of those falter, your balance can become unreliable. A daily serving of carrots, whether raw, roasted, or lightly steamed, can be a quiet line of defense against those stumbles. And perhaps even more interestingly, carrots also contain a healthy dose of fiber, which supports gut health. Emerging research in the last decade has linked the gut to everything from immunity to brain function. That means your crunchy snack could also be helping with inflammation, focus, and overall mood regulation, thanks to the gut-brain axis. Let me tell you about Walter, a 74-year-old retired engineer from Pennsylvania. A few years ago, Walter started experiencing dizziness when getting out of bed or walking across his driveway. His doctor couldn't find anything life-threatening, but recommended physical therapy and some nutritional adjustments. Walter wasn't convinced that food could make a difference until he gave it a shot. He started adding spinach to his morning smoothies and began munching on raw carrot sticks during his afternoon TV shows. Slowly, the dizziness faded, and he began feeling more sure-footed. "I thought I needed new shoes," he laughed. "Turns out I just needed better snacks." That's the power of thoughtful eating. And it's not about making massive overhauls. It's about simple choices, adding instead of subtracting, building instead of restricting. Now, we've talked about 3 vegetables that act like armor for your body. Broccoli to fight inflammation and support your blood vessels, spinach to boost blood flow to your brain and muscles, and carrots to protect your eyes, balance, and coordination. But just as there are foods that nourish and protect, there are others that quietly sabotage your health. Some of them may even be sitting in your fridge right now, looking deceptively healthy. Let's talk about one of them. The vegetable you probably eat thinking it's helping, but might actually be hurting you. That vegetable is corn. Now, don't get me wrong, fresh, organic corn in moderation isn't inherently dangerous. The problem arises with the highly processed versions of corn that appear in many foods. Corn syrup, corn oil, and even healthy snacks like popcorn with artificial flavorings. Corn is high in omega-6 fatty acids, especially when turned into oil, and when these fats become imbalanced with omega-3s in the diet, they can lead to chronic, low-grade inflammation. And as we discussed earlier, chronic inflammation is one of the stealthiest, deadliest contributors to aging. It doesn't make headlines like heart attacks or strokes, but slowly erodes your mobility, your memory, and your resilience over time. Inflammatory foods create an internal environment where healing slows, pain lingers, and muscles weaken. And in seniors, that makes a huge difference. Inflammation can also interfere with how your body metabolizes insulin, increasing your risk of type 2 diabetes, a condition that's already prevalent in the over 60 population. Corn also has a high glycemic index, which means it can cause blood sugar spikes. Frequent spikes in blood sugar contribute to fatigue, mental fog, and long-term damage to the nerves and blood vessels in the legs and feet. These subtle effects often go unnoticed until someone finds it harder to get up from a chair or begins to experience tingling in their feet. Instead of heavily processed corn, opt for whole grains like quinoa, barley, or steel-cut oats. They're less inflammatory, lower in sugar, and still give you the energy you need without the crash. Another vegetable that can be misleading? Eggplant. It looks healthy, it's colorful, and it appears in many Mediterranean dishes. But eggplants belong to a group of vegetables called nightshades, which also include tomatoes, peppers, and potatoes. For some people, especially those with joint pain, arthritis, or autoimmune issues, nightshades can exacerbate inflammation due to compounds called alkaloids. These natural chemicals can interfere with nerve-muscle communication, potentially making muscle stiffness or mobility issues worse. That doesn't mean everyone needs to avoid them, but if you have lingering stiffness, swelling, or unexplained pain, it may be worth reducing your intake of nightshades for a couple of weeks to see if symptoms improve. And then there's celery. Yes, celery. While it's often praised as a low-calorie snack, celery is also high in oxalates, compounds that can contribute to kidney stones and interfere with calcium absorption. For seniors, where bone density is already a concern, this can be problematic. Eating too many high-oxalate vegetables without balancing them with calcium-rich foods may actually weaken your bones over time, not strengthen them. The key message here isn't to fear vegetables, it's to understand them. Know what supports your body and what subtly drains it. Eating with intention doesn't mean cutting out joy. It means bringing joy and purpose to what you choose to eat. So if you're over 60 or someone you love is, remember this: a plate of broccoli, a handful of spinach, a carrot with lunch. These aren't just healthy choices. They're acts of preservation, of empowerment, of saying, I've still got living to do, and I'm going to do it well. Would you like me to continue this story with a closing section that summarizes the 3 vegetables to avoid and how to balance your daily meals? In a quiet neighborhood just outside Seattle, an elderly man named Harold begins each morning the same way. Before the sun fully rises, he shuffles into the kitchen, opens the refrigerator, and takes out a small container of carrot sticks he prepared the night before. It might seem like an unremarkable ritual, but for Harold, those orange spears are more than a snack. They're a quiet form of defiance against time itself. Carrots, it turns out, are not just sweet and crunchy. They're a powerhouse of beta-carotene, a compound that our bodies convert into vitamin A, a nutrient essential for maintaining healthy vision. And for people like Harold, in his late 70s, vision isn't just about enjoying the view. It's about safety, freedom, and dignity. One of the leading causes of vision loss in people over 65 is age-related macular degeneration. It creeps in gradually, dimming the world and making everyday activities like reading, driving, or recognizing loved ones more difficult. But studies have shown that regular intake of beta-carotene can slow the onset of this condition. Every crisp bite of a carrot is a small, deliberate act of protection. For Harold, that means seeing his grandchildren's faces clearly when they visit on Sundays, or reading the morning paper without struggling. Carrots also play a more hidden role in the intricate dance between the brain and body. They contain antioxidants that help preserve the integrity of both neurons and blood vessels. the critical pathways that transmit messages between the brain and limbs. For aging adults, that means better balance, quicker reflexes, and fewer missteps. It's easy to take walking for granted, but for those who have experienced a fall, the anxiety of losing control can become a constant companion. Neuromuscular coordination relies on precision. The signals sent from the brain to the legs must be sharp and timely. Antioxidants like those found in carrots help preserve these delicate systems, ensuring that the body responds swiftly to commands. In that sense, carrots don't just support sight, they quietly guard movement, too. Their benefits extend to metabolism as well. With aging, digestion slows, cholesterol levels can rise, and blood sugar becomes harder to control. Carrots, high in dietary fiber, help regulate all three. Fiber slows the absorption of sugar, helps lower LDL cholesterol, and supports a healthy gut, all key factors in maintaining energy and preventing disease. It may not seem like a big deal, tossing a handful of fresh carrot sticks into a salad or blending them into a morning smoothie, but consistency over time transforms that small habit into a protective shield around everything that matters most: sight, movement, independence. And yet, the story doesn't end with what we should eat. It also involves what we might need to reconsider. Not all vegetables, despite their colorful promise, are equally suited for aging bodies. Sometimes, the foods we've considered wholesome for years carry hidden risks that only become significant later in life. Take eggplant, for instance. Its deep purple skin and spongy interior make a staple in many kitchens. But for people over 65, eggplant deserve a second look. It contains solanine, a natural chemical compound that protects the plant from pests, but can trigger inflammation in sensitive individuals. And as we age, our tolerance for these compounds often diminishes. Solanine, though naturally occurring, is known to irritate the joints, muscles, and even nerve tissues in certain people, particularly those already experiencing symptoms of arthritis, chronic pain, or nerve sensitivity. What might be a negligible amount of inflammation in a younger person can become a chronic burden in someone older. Low-grade inflammation in the legs and joints might not cause immediate pain. It may show up as morning stiffness, slow reflexes, or the need to grip furniture when walking across a room. But over time, that small discomfort can snowball into something more limiting. Muscles weaken, blood flow diminishes, balance is compromised, and the emotional toll shouldn't be underestimated either. As movement becomes more challenging, many older adults withdraw from physical activity. What begins as joint pain can lead to reduced exercise, then isolation, and eventually a sense of helplessness. The spiral is subtle but real. For many, the loss of easy movement leads directly to the loss of confidence. That's why Harold eventually removed eggplant from his kitchen. He used to roast it with olive oil and garlic, serve it beside fish, even enjoy it on sandwiches. But after a conversation with his doctor and some quiet self-observation, he noticed that on days when he ate eggplant, his knees felt a little tighter, his morning walks a little shorter. It's not about fear or demonizing any particular food. It's about tuning in to the subtle cues of the aging body. Just as some plants offer invisible protection, others can have equally invisible consequences. Making thoughtful food choices in later life isn't about adhering to trends or fads. It's about restoring comfort, ensuring safety, and honoring what your body needs to thrive. Eggplant might still work for some, especially if it's cooked well and eaten sparingly. But for those who already deal with inflammation or joint stiffness, reducing or eliminating it can make a quiet but profound difference. It's a simple shift that could mean more comfortable mornings, fewer painkillers, and longer walks through the neighborhood. So, as Harold munches on his carrots, he's not just following a health tip. He's actively choosing mobility, clarity, and presence. That small act in the kitchen echoes throughout his day, helping him rise from the couch more easily, enjoy a game of cards without foggy concentration, and laugh freely with his grandchildren without a wince of discomfort. In many ways, aging well isn't about grand gestures or dramatic changes. It's about small, consistent choices, knowing which vegetables are your allies and which might quietly hinder you, listening carefully to your body, and adjusting gently but firmly. Because even in the later chapters of life, the right foods can help you write a story of strength, resilience, and joy. In Ruth Miller's cozy kitchen, the air often carried the scent of roasted vegetables and simmering soups, especially now that she was spending more time cooking at home after retiring. She had always believed in the power of food to heal, soothe, and strengthen the body, especially as she moved into her 70s. But what she didn't expect was that some of her lifelong favorites might quietly be doing the opposite. Take eggplant, for example. Ruth had grown up on ratatouille, grilled eggplant sandwiches, and creamy dips made from the velvety purple vegetable. It had always felt wholesome, filling, and light. But lately, her knees ached more than usual after long walks, and some mornings, her fingers were too stiff to grip the mug of tea she sipped each dawn on the porch. It wasn't until she began reading more deeply into how food interacts with aging bodies that she discovered something surprising. Eggplants, while colorful and rich in fiber, contain solanine, a naturally occurring chemical that plants use as a defense mechanism. In large amounts or in sensitive individuals, solanine can provoke inflammation in joints and muscles. Scientific reviews, including one published in the journal Arthritis Today, have linked solanine-containing foods to increased symptoms in people with joint disorders. It wasn't that eggplant was toxic, but for someone like Ruth, whose body was no longer as resilient as it once was, eating it frequently might silently intensify the very discomforts she was trying to alleviate. What's worse, cooking methods didn't significantly reduce solanine's effects. Whether baked, grilled, or stewed, the compound lingered. While not everyone over 65 would react the same way, for those already living with arthritis or poor circulation, eggplant could be quietly worsening the problem. Ruth decided to swap it out for zucchini and sweet potatoes, vegetables with similar textures but without the inflammatory risks. That small shift was just the beginning. She began paying closer attention to how her meals made her feel. And that's when green bell peppers entered the picture. Green bell peppers had always been a go-to for Ruth. They were easy to slice into a stir-fry, toss into a salad, or roast alongside chicken. They added color, crunch, and a mild bitterness she enjoyed. But like eggplants, green bell peppers are part of the nightshade family, and they come with their own set of problems. Specifically, green peppers contain lectins, a type of protein that binds to carbohydrates and can attach to the lining of the gut. While the idea of lectins causing harm has been controversial, recent research, including work published in Nutrients Journal, suggests that in some older adults with compromised digestive systems, these compounds can contribute to low-grade inflammation. This type of silent inflammation is deceptive. It doesn't announce itself with a fever or sharp pain. Instead, it seeps in slowly, a little more stiffness here, a bit more fatigue there. Over time, it chips away at blood vessel flexibility, nerve responsiveness, and even balance. Ruth remembered moments recently when she'd stumbled slightly stepping off a curb, or when her toes felt oddly numb despite warm socks. She'd assumed it was just part of aging, but maybe it wasn't inevitable. Red, orange, and yellow peppers, the more ripened versions of the green, contain far more antioxidants and significantly fewer lectins. Ruth started choosing those instead, roasting them until sweet and tender, and found her digestion and energy improved subtly but surely over the following weeks. The final shift came when Ruth looked more closely at her most beloved staple of all, the humble white potato. No vegetable had held such a place of comfort in her life. Mashed with garlic and cream, fried into crispy hash browns, or baked and topped with sour cream and chives, potatoes have been a fixture at nearly every holiday, every Sunday dinner. They represented warmth, family, and tradition. But as she dug deeper, the picture began to change. White potatoes, despite being rich in potassium and vitamin C, are high on the glycemic index. That means they rapidly convert into glucose in the bloodstream, spiking blood sugar levels. For seniors, especially those already managing diabetes or cardiovascular issues, this can pose serious challenges. When blood sugar spikes repeatedly, it leads to systemic inflammation and oxidative stress. This stress damages blood vessels, particularly the smaller capillaries in the legs, feet, and even the eyes. Poor circulation to the extremities is a major factor in falls, slow wound healing, and neuropathy, conditions that strip away independence, bit by bit. Studies from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition have found correlations between diets high in glycemic load and the onset of atherosclerosis, a condition where the arteries stiffen and narrow. As circulation diminishes, muscles weaken, coordination falters, and the risk of dangerous falls escalates. What starts as a bit of sluggishness can end in hospitalization. Ruth thought about the last time she prepared her favorite buttery mash. It had been delicious, but it had also left her feeling sluggish, bloated, and unusually tired. Maybe it was time to experiment. She began mixing half a portion of white potatoes with cauliflower and parsnips. The taste was still comforting, but the glycemic impact was lower. She roasted carrots and turnips more often, discovering that their natural sweetness was satisfying in a different way. And over time, she noticed fewer dips in energy after meals and fewer cramps in her calves at night. What Ruth learned wasn't about fear or avoidance. It was about awareness. She wasn't giving up joy or flavor or tradition. She was evolving them. Every ingredient now came with a question. How does this make me feel? Not just now, but tomorrow. And in that reflection, she found something powerful. Her meals no longer drained her. They supported her. She felt stronger walking to the community center. She stood taller at her granddaughter's school play. She even danced gently during a neighbor's birthday celebration. Food hadn't become a restriction. It had become a tool, a way of choosing each day with intention. A quiet, loving promise to her own body that she would listen, adapt, and keep walking forward with grace. The truth is, no vegetable is inherently evil. But as our bodies age, the details matter. Some ingredients that once did no harm begin to ask too much of systems that now need support. And recognizing that isn't giving up. It's growing wiser. In the end, Ruth didn't stop eating vegetables. She just chose them with the same care she'd once used to prepare dinner for her children. Thoughtfully, gently, with an eye not only to taste, but to tomorrow. It started with a conversation over lunch. Eleanor, my neighbor who's always full of questions, asked why I never served mashed potatoes anymore when she came over. I looked down at the sweet potatoes steaming gently on the plate between us and said, "It's not that I don't like them. I just decided to stop giving them power over how I feel every day." She laughed, thinking I was joking, but I wasn't. White potatoes were something I'd grown up with. They filled every Sunday roast, every school lunch, every comforting memory from childhood. But as I got older, my body began whispering things to me. Subtle things, a little more fatigue after meals, legs that didn't quite feel as sturdy, a fuzziness in my thinking that I'd never experienced before. And while it's easy to chalk all of that up to aging, I didn't want to accept that this was just how it was going to be. So I started listening more carefully to what my body was trying to say. And I looked a little deeper into the science. White potatoes, it turns out, do very little to protect us as we age. They spike our blood sugar without offering much in return. Very little in the way of antioxidants, vitamins, or minerals that actually nourish our cells. In contrast, sweet potatoes are full of beta-carotene, which the body converts into vitamin A critical nutrient for vision, skin health, and immune function. Their orange hue isn't just pretty, it's protective. That vibrant color is a sign of the antioxidants working inside to neutralize the free radicals that speed up aging and cellular breakdown. It's not just about potatoes. It's about what we choose to fill our plates with, what we feed our muscles, our brain, and our heart. For years, I ate whatever was familiar, convenient, and comforting. And to be fair, food should be comforting. But comfort and health don't have to be at odds. Choosing sweet potatoes over white ones, or walnuts over crackers, or spinach over iceberg lettuce doesn't mean giving up joy. It means choosing a different kind of joy, a long-lasting one that doesn't leave us feeling drained afterward. We often underestimate how deeply food affects our sense of well-being. Not just in the physical sense, but mentally and emotionally too. Think about it. When circulation slows, when muscles weaken, when the mind feels foggy, it's not just the body aging. It's the result of small, daily choices made over time. What we put in our bodies fuels every system we rely on to stay active, independent, and engaged with life. That's especially true after 60, when the body's ability to recover and regenerate becomes more fragile. So I started making small changes, just one by one, swapping out white potatoes, reaching for a handful of walnuts instead of something processed, adding more leafy greens, drinking water before coffee. Nothing extreme, nothing punishing, just respectful, because that's what it came down to, respect. Respecting the body that had carried me this far, the legs that walked me through jobs and travel and joy, the hands that held my children and my partner, the heart that beat through every birthday, every heartbreak, every ordinary Tuesday. It deserved better fuel. It deserved consistency. These are the quiet decisions that matter most, though they're often overlooked. No doctor, no pill, no fancy health device can replace the day-in, day-out kindness of good food. I remember talking to Arthur, a retired teacher I met during a senior wellness group. He told me he used to think healthy living meant green smoothies and jogging marathons. But after his stroke, everything changed. He said, "It's not about doing something heroic. It's about stopping the little things that are slowly wearing me down." His words stuck with me. And they're true. Little choices add up. They affect whether we walk steadily or struggle to stand, whether our minds stay sharp or begin to slip, whether we continue living in our homes with freedom or grow dependent on others faster than we have to. That's not fear talking. That's reality. But here's the good part. We have so much more power than we think. When I replaced white potatoes with something richer in nutrients, I didn't feel deprived. I felt more awake, more in tune, more alive. And over time, my energy improved, the aching in my joints lessened, and I noticed a lightness after meals that used to be absent. This isn't about chasing eternal youth. It's about preserving dignity, protecting the joy of dancing in the kitchen while the tea boils, laughing through a walk with old friends, reading a good book, and actually remembering the story. Food is memory. Food is medicine. Food is love. Every time I choose spinach over a nutrient-poor green, I feel like I'm voting for my own strength. Every time I say no to something that offers calories but no nourishment, I'm not denying myself anything. I'm making room for something better. The older I get, the more I understand, the most powerful things are rarely loud. They're gentle. They build slowly. and they last. That's how I see my meals now, as quiet little investments in all the life I still want to live. They're small, but they speak loudly to my future self. They say, "You matter. I'm taking care of you." It's not about perfect eating. It's about conscious eating. If there's one truth I've learned, it's this: you don't need a revolution to feel better. You just need consistency, care, and a willingness to trade the familiar for the truly nourishing. And if you've read this far, maybe that means something is stirring in you too. Maybe you're ready to look at your plate differently. Maybe you're ready to listen to the body that's been whispering, asking for something more loving. I'd love to know, what's one change you feel inspired to make? Maybe it's something small, like adding more berries to your breakfast. Or maybe it's something bigger, like finally clearing your kitchen of foods that don't serve you anymore. Whatever it is, don't wait for the perfect time. The perfect time is always now. Let's keep walking this path together, one peaceful, powerful bite at a time.